Yeah, I'm locked out. I know, and it's almost time to start the stream. But I've got a few minutes yet. Yeah, I was really looking forward to it today as well. Oh, I'm going to add the colour to the monster, do some painting there, and if I get time, I'm going to work on the background as well. Yeah, I can't wait. But first I've got to get inside. There isn't. Under this brick. Oh. Thanks, Mr. T. Great, see you on the stream shortly. Is it? Oh yeah. Okay, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye. Hello there. You're here already. I'll see you in a second. Grab yourself a cuppa, because it's almost tea time. Whew. Sorry I'm late. Hello friends, welcome to today's Sunday Tea Time Live. My name's Darren, and today I'm going to do some animation with some colouring in Tahoma 2D, which is a fork of OpenToonz. And if you're not aware, both software are free, and you can find links for both of them down in the description below. And I hope you're all doing well today. Do come say hello in the chat, let me know who's out there today, and especially if it's your first time, do introduce yourself and come join in the fun. And if you're new to these streams, welcome. I run a stream every weekend which I host on YouTube and Twitch, and these are recorded to catch up with later on YouTube for any parts that you may have missed. And these streams are just a chance for me to work on a drawing or to do some animation in OpenToonz or Tahoma 2D, and for you to watch along and ask some questions about what I'm doing or about the programs themselves, and for me to share any news about the programs along the way. But today I'm going to continue to work on my short animation with my little monster that I've been working on for the past few weeks, and I'm going to be adding colour to the little monster himself, and if I find a bit more time, maybe even throw in a quick background. And I hope you can join in and do some animation at the same time too. And if you want to share what you're working on, you can share it on the group Discord server. Again, there's a link down below in the description if you want to join if you're not already a member. And if you like, we can share that with everybody else on the stream today as well. And if you enjoy what I do here, you can treat me to a coffee using the link down below. And many thanks to Brady Lindsay, who treated me to 5 coffees this week. It's really is much appreciated, so thank you for doing that. But before we continue, let me just check in on the chat and see who's here. I can see Tom straight in there. Hello there, Tom. Welcome. I saw your comment on the Discord just before the stream started about the splash in the glass of water. I'll take a look at that later on. Hi there, Maria. Welcome. Good to have you back again. Good to have you here. I decided to break up the little animation by doing the colouring this week of the monster, and then next week I was going to move on to the splash itself, which I wasn't going to get myself too concerned about. I've taken a look at some of the links that you've all shared. Amar in particular has shared a few links with me that might help. I think the way it is so far as a sketch, it's pretty good, but putting the ink lines in next week could be a little bit tricky, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It is really my first proper attempt at a full splash. I'm, again, as I said last week, not too concerned about getting it perfect, just getting it completed. So we'll finish that next week, which will hopefully finish off this little animation in total. So while everyone checks in, before we start today, as I like to do on the streams, let's take a look at what happened since I last streamed. What happened last week? So this section is a chance for me to let you know about any OpenToonz or animation news that I've heard about since we last streamed, to share what I've been working on and any news that I've got as well. So first, let me take a quick look at my last video, and it's a quick chat about this. It was again another fun thumbnail for me to put together here. And And the video is just a way to show how, one way you can speed up your workflow when working with vector levels or lots of effects, especially if they're for backgrounds. And the idea is that you just render off the frames that you need to a separate image file and then work only with that image file instead of working with the calculation of all the vector lines, multiple columns or lots of effects. And I think by doing this and having this in mind, it really encourages you to use more columns, which makes the effects more usable, having separated parts of your background. And I think it really speeds up how OpenToonz can run. So it's worth taking a look at if you've not done so already. It's quite a short video, so have a little glance at that. As for my next video, I've no idea yet what it's going to be about. I've got a few ideas in mind, especially after a bit of a chat yesterday on the Discord server. Possibly considering maybe doing a video about how macros work for macro effects. But it's quite a complex subject, so it could take a little while to put together. So I'll get to that when I can, but I'm not sure exactly what next week's video will be. We'll see how that goes. And that's about it for the news section. So I just want to pop back here and say hello to everyone that's joined us since. Hello there, Heine. Good to have you with us. How's Mr. Nobbles going? Mr. Noblinies. Hadjan's asking about OpenToonz versus Critter. It depends on your system. For different people, one program will work better than the other. But there are a couple of things you can do to improve the speed and how OpenToonz works. And again, that video I mentioned was one of them. It depends really if you're using vector levels a lot, if you're importing images, if you're doing lots of effects or lots of work with the plastic tool. So there's lots of kind of question marks about your specific case that I can't really answer to. But on my Discord server, I have detailed a few things you can do to speed up OpenToonz, including setting up your graphics card to work with OpenToonz, which can help in some areas. Not as many as we'd like, but it can help in some areas. So it depends again, the resolutions you're working at. There's so many things you can look at and change. You can change the viewer resolution. So I believe in the preferences for OpenToonz. Let's pop over here. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so over here in preferences, there is an option, if I can remember where it is, because it's getting quite a few options now. Is it preview? Oh, and of course, I'm into home and not OpenToonz. That's slightly different. But I believe there's an option here to use the same resolution in the viewer on screen that you get in the preview window. If you look at the preview settings. Okay, so if you're working, for instance, on an HD animation, so 1920 by 1080 full HD, that'll cover your whole screen. So all of this screen we've got here. But most of the screen, as you can see, is surrounded by the panel windows, not the drawing itself. So it can be easier to work at half resolution. So shrink the preview by 2 and tick the box to apply the shrink to the viewer. So using less of the viewer's, requiring less effort to display the viewer. So that can be a useful tip to increase that. There's quite a few things you can do, but have a go. Work with OpenToonz, work with Critter, because often when people say which one's best, only you can tell. So try them both, see which works for you, see which have the features that you need for your animation, because they do work quite differently. And for me, OpenToonz works a lot smoother and gives me a better result than Critter can. But give it a go and see what works for you. So yeah, so today I want to work on adding some colour to this animation. Last week I added the ink for the little monster, so he's fully inked up. So if I replay this, it'll take a run or two before it caches all of the images, so give it a second to get through here. That's going better. And I'm expecting today to be quite a quick live stream session, to be honest. Shouldn't take too long to do this. So I just want to add the colour to the monster, and we use a couple of different techniques for that. So I'm looking forward to having a go at that and see which works best for this situation. And then hopefully, as I say, put in a quick background, which I do want to be a good background out of the way. So it is kind of a very simple sky and ground colouring, bit of texture maybe, and then a bit of colour for the pool. And that's all for today I want to get through. So we'll see how that goes. So let me jump straight in and get started. And if you've got any questions as we go through this, do pop them in the chat and let us know what your queries are. Let me pop some music on in the background there. And if that's too loud, just let me know and we can soon alter that. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to bring in a colour model as an example of the colours I want to use, which should make it easier to choose colours for the character. So I'll load a reference image. So this is stored into Homer, so let me go to my Homer folder. Then Monster Projects, and it's the reference, and let's choose the run cycle. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just close that. I don't need the whole cycle, just a single image is fine there. So I think the first thing I want to do is to add the colour to the main body, and I was thinking about this during the week, and I'll make use of the bucket fill tool over here on the left. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Let's go to the actual level, which is the Monster Ink level there. I will also start up my backup tool just in case, so let me run that up. Give me a second. Okay, I pop this over here. I'm monitoring the monster projects, all files, start. And then I'll hit save all in here. Check the first project is saved. Take a couple of seconds for the first one to be saved. Watching the bottom box here. There we go. So it's backed up all the files for this. Let me give it a name, just so I can recognise which it is, before adding any colour. Make a copy, delete all non-named backups, minimise that, that's now forgotten and out of the way. So let's add a colour. So we want to see if I can choose a colour from the flipbook up here above my head. So if I choose the RGB colour picker, can I click on the flipbook? No, I can't. So what I need to do is to drag in a reference image. So I can choose the right colours. So how are we all doing today? Are we all working on some sort of art or animation? Pick an image from the run cycle, I'll drop it in and it'll add that to a new column. I'll import that, that's fine. Now it's here in its own column. We don't want it rendering, so I'll untick the eyeball. I can see it now visually on screen, which is all I need at the minute. Let me pop it to the side though. So I'll use the animate tool just to bring that over to the side off the main screen. And then in my Monster Ink column, I will then use the RGB colour picker and pick his main fur. So let me start renaming these colours so I know which one is which. So to colour all the monster in, what I'm going to do is choose the bucket fill tool. And the way you work is you draw, well, there's a number of ways you can do this. Normal filling is by tapping on the screen to choose a fill point, but I want to fill a large area, so I'll use the rectangular fill. You could use the freehand or polyline if you prefer. Rectangular works really well. Oh, nice, Maria. Good. Lovely, lovely. Look forward to seeing that. I bet it is, Heiner. Yes. It doesn't take long before they start to get out of hand. Again, as I mentioned earlier for the preview, when you render, if you want to render a version for Discord, you can use the shrink option and shrink it down by 3 or 4 times to get a quarter of the size with 4 times. And then you can perhaps post that, but it'll get to the point where even that won't work. So yeah, a YouTube link would be good. It'd be good to see that. So to do the frame range fill, you tick the frame range option up here on the options toolbar if you've not used it before. You then, with the rectangular option, draw a rectangle on frame 1 around the area to be filled. Go to the last frame, so scroll to the end, select on the frame, draw another rectangle around the area to be filled, and OpenToonz will interpolate between those 2 rectangles to allow any movement to fill in all the areas on each frame. But it's got a really peculiar feature that I didn't realise until not too long back, and that's that it uses the drawing number to choose what the final frame to be filled is, not the frame number. So I've got drawings from 1 to 39. If I'd had a drawing 40, 41 and inserted that earlier, if I go from drawing 1 to 39 on the timeline, it only fills in the drawings 1 to 39, which for me feels a bit of a bug, something people haven't considered might happen. So to stop that, if you select all the frames and choose auto renumber, and it ensures that they're ordered in number from lowest to highest, and you can't come across that situation. Yeah, shrink of 6 slightly too big. At least you've tried it, at least you know about the shrink option. A lot of people don't. Yeah, no problem. YouTube it up. Yes, the 3D tool, Maria, that's kind of a tricky one at first to get used to. But like all the tools, once you've used it a few times, it becomes second nature and you know what you're doing. Personally, I don't like to use the 3D view, this middle button here at the top of the viewer. I don't like to use that to adjust in 3D. I tend to just use the standard view, and then you hold the control key in position mode to move into the Z axis, or Z axis if you prefer, and then just scroll through the animation to see how much of an effect that has. But yeah, you keep sharing things, Maria, and Tom's always a help with these kind of things. Although you mentioned the background, Heiner, in 4K, it doesn't really, in my experience, it doesn't really matter if the background is 4K, it's the actual output size of the camera. So when I was doing the Futurama project a while back, all my backgrounds I drew at double the size, so they were 4K, so twice as wide, twice as high as an HD image, and that gave me some play to zoom in and out without losing clarity on the image. But then the actual output of the camera size was standard HD, so I just place it inside the camera area to get the appropriate size. It still created an HD output regardless of the 4K background. But yeah, if it's a long animation, it can easily take up too much space. Personally, Hajan, I find Tahoma 2D exactly the same as OpenToonz. They both work the same for me, just as smooth, really. When you talk about lag, what is the lag for you? People say lag, it means different things. Is that as you draw? When you press play to preview the animation? Is it when you've got effects turned on? Whereabouts do you see the lag? But yeah, both for me seem to work about the same speed. I don't tend to get too much lag, and my computer isn't super great. It's a 5 or so year old laptop. It was good in its day when I bought it. It's not a really cheap one, but it's definitely out of date, and you can get better quality, faster computers nowadays than this machine. But it works okay for me. Crashing a lot and not responding isn't really laggy, that's something else. Is it crashing as you draw? Again, it's the detail that's important. As you draw or as you render? Because render crashes are quite different. Again, looking over here at the chat there. So here people talk about OpenToonz crashing a lot, and for the past, since the past release of 1.5, I've not really seen that happen. Again, I'm making assumptions. I assume you've installed the latest version, 1.5. In fact, if I just double check one more thing just before I start doing this. Let me go to the OpenToonz site so I can show you something. Okay, bring that over. Yeah, you say it crashes unpredictable, so it's, yeah, it will do. You'll get the not responding thing at the same time. So are you using 1.5? So if you go to the downloads page, choose OpenToonz. I'd definitely recommend downloading the nightly builds rather than the original 1.5. 1.5 is a year out of date. The nightly builds have got all the bug fixes since 1.5 and additional features. I mean, if Krita is more smooth for you, then you've got your own answer. Use Krita. That's the end of it. If that works, then that works. It just seems quite random that different computers, OpenToonz has more issues on some computers than on others, unfortunately. But again, have you added it to your 3D graphics cards high performance settings? Because that made it slightly more stable for me when I first did that a couple of years ago, I guess now. But yeah, I perhaps should, I was talking earlier about video for next week and what I want to work on. I ought to perhaps put a video together to go through a couple of issues with crashes, not responding, how to speed up the program. Exactly the same thing, Ajan, Tahoma 2D versus OpenToonz, exactly the same. But again, I can't tell you which is best for you. You've got to just try them both. They're virtually the same program. They have all the same features apart from a couple of different ones. So they're virtually the same. So give them both a go. You can run them both at the same time. Have them both downloaded onto your computer at the same time. OpenToonz you install. Tahoma you don't install. It runs as a local portable version of the program. So you can run either one and they won't conflict with each other. So definitely try them both out and see which works for you. I'm using Tahoma today, but both are just as good as each other. Okay, so let's do this colouring then. So to do the fill range, I've ticked the fill range button. I'm filling areas using the rectangle tool. I'm on frame 1 and I'll draw a rectangle around most of the screen. And then that rectangle turns to a red rectangle. It stays there. Then move to the final frame and draw another rectangle. And that actually took it before I'd finished drawing it. You don't need to decide between them. You can use either. You can use absolutely either. It depends if any of the features of Tahoma 2D are what you want. If not, then use OpenToonz, and depends how much you've used the programs. Tahoma 2D is slightly easier to use. Let me try again. So draw a rectangle on frame 1. Scroll to the end, choose the final frame, draw another rectangle, and it did it again. Let me have a look at that. Yep. Oh, I did accept it. It was just the timing. Run that through. Yeah, it did half of it for some reason. Which has faster workflow? Neither, Ajahn, neither. They're exactly the same. For speed, for me. Some people find that OpenToonz works smoother or crashes less, or for others it's Tahoma 2D. So just try them both out, honestly, try them both and see which works. Let me try again. I've not had an issue with this in the past. Make sure I've got everything checked. Frame range. I don't really want to auto paint lines. I'm ignoring gaps, yep, that's fine. Fill depth I'm not changing. It's not selective. I've got the right colour. Let's just see. Let's just zoom down so I can see them all. Make sure I've got the numbers in order again. So right click, auto read number, hit save, start from here. Yeah, download them both and have a try. See how well they work for you. Right, that's the final frame. Then you wait a second. That went better. That seemed to go better that time. So just check each frame is coloured. Perfect. So we've got the basic colour for everything on here. And because I'm using Smart Raster Level or Toonz Raster Level for OpenToonz, I can later change the colour if I want to a different colour. So next, just go through each bar to the body and add the right colour. So I did add a colour for drawing the outline of the spots. Let me add one for the inside fill of the spots, make sure that's the same. So again, I'll choose the RGB colour tool. I'll pick the inside of the spot. And then using the fill bucket, rather than filling each spot individually, I will try using the frame range again, this time using the freehand tool. So I'll draw a circle around the spots there on the first frame. Let's look through to see how far he moves. Go to there and then try again. Yeah, it's playing up today for some reason, because I'm on the live stream, I expect. So in that case, I'm going to turn off frame range and do it one at a time. If both are the same, then just pick one. Absolutely pick one. I made a video a few weeks back about transporting a project from OpenToonz to Tahoma or back. So if you will start on one program, you can then go back to the other program later if you wish. But normally you'd stick with the program you start with. I like both. I really do like both. The features I use are in both programs. So it's not that I choose one program because of all the extra features. Everything I want is in both programs. There are a couple of extra features in Tahoma that I do like, and perhaps you might choose to use it for that. Depends if you're using them. So for instance, the new grid, perspective grid tool for having grids to draw your lines against is really handy. But if you're not drawing backgrounds, for instance for this little animation here, the grids aren't any use at all. They don't really help me. So either. Yeah, grab one. The main thing is get in there and start doing it, start learning the programs, get the practice working for both. But if you really aren't sure, I'll just say grab Tahoma, just because of the slight extra features that's in there. But whichever you pick, it'll be good for you. Okay, so frame one, frame range is off, freehand for areas. Let's just draw a circle around that. Yes, they fill. So I remember when I drew these spots before, I couldn't decide if I wanted an outline to them or not. So I drew the spot outline in one colour. Let's just rename that. And then the spots themselves, let's rename that too. And then if you hold the control key when you select one, you can change the ordering of the colours. So let's just change the ordering to keep them together. And if we want to, we can make the spot outline the same colour, or we can make it slightly different. As you look at the reference, thanks that Jan, thank you. The reference, you can see I didn't have an outline colour for the spots, I kept them the same, but when he's smaller, the spots kind of disappear a little bit into the background, so I quite like the idea of having a different coloured outline to highlight them. I'll see how that looks, we can always change it back later. So let's go through one frame at a time. Oops, choose the right colour. And I'll just draw the freehand shape around the spots to fill them in. And this is why I moved away from having textures for the fur on the character. As nice as they looked, it made it difficult to use the bucket fill tool for quick colouring, which is really important and something I wanted to have. If you've got a keyboard, this works a lot easier rather than clicking on the timeline for changing frames. But my keyboard is the opposite side of the desk for me. We hit save in between. Yes, Tom, that's absolutely right. Yeah, changing the brightness on the spots without the lines, yeah, to make them stand out more. Because they're quite bright, you can see at the top right here in the reference, but they're just not as clear as having an outline. So I wanted to make sure I'd got an outline on them. So I've used the frame range tool for the main body. I've used the freehand bucket fill for the spots. And next I'm going to use the paintbrush tool, I think, for doing the mane down the back of his head. I might use this bucket fill tool for the eyes as well later. But I quite like doing one colour at a time. I think it makes it a lot easier to work through all the colours. You can adjust the lighting into Homer and OpenToonz, yes. Okay, so back to the beginning again, and now we'll do his eyes. So again, add a new colour, palette entry, RGB colour picker, pick his eyes. Let me just rename that. And while I'm here, let's keep picking the other colours to get them all set at the same time. His tooth and his nose. Which I think the nose was the same as the spots, but let me again choose a different palette entry because then we can adjust it later if we want to. And then his mane, which I always spell wrong, so I'll try it that way. I'm sure someone will let me know if it's wrong. Let me hit save. Yes, I think you're right, Tom. I think you're all right. But as I say, I'm happy to have an outline for this one, and we can adjust it afterwards to get the right colour. So the eyes, we can use the bucket fill tool and I'll use the normal option here. Just wondering actually, am I getting that pen issue that I had before? Ah, there we go. That's why the frame range wasn't working. It thought I'd clicked on the screen when I hadn't. So this is the issue I had last week. So let me just unplug and replug in the tablet and see how that goes. Okay, so we had this issue last week where my tablet went a bit peculiar and thought that when I put my brush was near the page, that it was touching the page. It kept doing dots on the screen, which it's now not doing, so that's seems to be okay. Let me just run my running the tablet options again to make sure they're working okay. Yep, that seems right. Click apply on the brush. Fine, that's much better. So that was the issue at the start, unfortunately. Yes, we can do background parallax and different types of compositing. Depending quite what kind of compositing you want to do, you can add your layers on, add multiply effects between them, and extra lighting and nodes. So yes, quite a lot you can do in there. And again, it's one of those things where you just need to jump in to get a feel for what you can do, how you can do it, and if it benefits you in your workflow. Okay, so let's go to the eyes. I use the bucket fill tool, now choose the normal mode, areas fill, looking at the options, make sure everything's as I expect, and let's colour these in. So just selecting on the frame and tapping in the eyeball. In fact, I just realised the eyes are showing as white. Let's go back to frame 1. They should be yellow, but I can choose the RGB colour picker, pick the yellow again, and that'll allow me to see the eyes as yellow. I'll also use the eraser, because I can see I've coloured a couple of dots there, which I couldn't see before. Let's see how these all look. See where we've got to. There we go. Okay, so fill bucket, eyes in yellow, tap. And then continue to work through. So you'll squash down here, see where his eyes open, they disappear until there. A few frames at the top where he spins around and then he comes to fall down. There's this sketch on the final frame. Oh, it'll be that's the reflection one, so that's fine, I'll ignore that. Okay, back to the first frame again. And, oops, I've accidentally filled in. There we are. So now let's choose his nose. And again, we need to fill this, but we need to do it in a different way this time. And that's because the nose is open at the top. So I need to use the brush tool to draw a line at the top. If I draw one over the top there, it can draw over the top of the outlines. So if I undo that and change the draw order to draw under, it'll draw under the other lines. So let's make this a bit smaller. And then to draw across the black, you can see it doesn't draw over the main part of the black line, but it does draw over the anti-alias part. But it saves us having to colour it all in by hand. That works fine. So I'll go through each of these. Now to draw this line first, and then we'll do the fill afterwards. I'll try and add a little bit of a curve to it so it's not so blunt. And watching out for it painting through the anti-aliased lines there. It will have a small bit of a wobble, but that's fine. It gives it some life as it moves. Zoom out a little bit so I can see where I am. I don't need a line there. I do here. That's fine. Now we can go through and use the standard bucket fill. And the nose has disappeared now until he jumps up. So again, just follow that in. But it's moving quite fast, doesn't need to be super accurate. It'll just be a splash of colour moving. There we go, and I will choose to undo the colouring in the gap here by choosing colour 0, a normal fill bucket, just tap in the middle and it gets rid of that area there. Let's hit save. And now we'll choose the nose colour again and then go backwards to start to fill in all of those noses. And there's another gap to take away. And then choose the nose colour and just go through frame by frame. Might need to come back and add some more lines over the top of that orange just to make it look a bit neater. See where his nose comes back. There we are. So again, this comes back to a chat we had last week and that you joined in, Tom, where I was talking about using anti-aliasing or not. Again, let's go to that gap, but it's automatically filled in. And if I'd used the pencil mode, so not used anti-aliasing, I wouldn't have quite so many issues with the overlap of the anti-aliased pixels. So again, that's perhaps something to think about for next time, to use the pencil mode. It might remove some of these issues and give me a slightly quicker workflow. So maybe that's just something to experiment with next time. So that's saved. So let me step through frame by frame and have a look at the drawing to see if the nose has got any issues there. There's one, for instance. If I use the standard brush tool and an ink line, make sure I've changed the draw order to over all. Yes, exactly, anti-alias applied during the render. I really wouldn't compare them with Adobe Animate. It's a different program, clearly, but it's a different intended audience, a different workflow. I just wouldn't. It's just a different program altogether. But it's got enough features that you can do some cool animation. So a lot of people wait to be told which program is best, and they often ask the question, which is better, which one do you think would work better for me? And the best thing is get in there, get in and work with it. You try it, find out, and then you tell us perhaps. I'd say neither have a workflow like Adobe Animate in some respects, but in others they both do, because again they're both exactly the same program. I can see the gap there, it's painted over it, that's fine. But really you need to sort of be detailed with yourself as well as with us a little bit of when you talk about features like Adobe Animate, which features are you thinking of? So what do you want it to do that you want to confirm it can do? It's Devil Cat. Hello, welcome. Good to have you in here. Pleased you found the stream. How are you doing today? Yeah, the Castle Dark's looking really good. It's a long-running saga of putting animation together, and it's certainly something for aspiring animators to consider how slow the process of animation can be. Because he's been working on that for, I think, 5 years? 4 or 5 years, certainly since I've been using OpenToonz, which is 4 or 5 years ago. He did, yeah. The light and shading video, I saw that. Amar, welcome. Good to have you here. You didn't get the notification? Okay, that's a shame. I put up the video yesterday. I tried to put up the stream setups on YouTube 24 hours in advance. So it was about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon that I put it on. And then if you see that, you go to the stream before it starts and you can see a countdown of how long you've got till the stream starts. So it makes it easier for everyone to know when the stream's starting in their local time. Because it's all well and good me saying 3 PM UK time, but what does that mean to you where you are around the world? But I always put a link as well in the announcements page on the Discord server for that very reason, because people don't always get the notifications, so you get warnings. I try to keep it at the same time each Sunday. So once you start with it, you'll see the rhythm of the streams each week, and hopefully you sort of won't need the notification. But glad you've made it anyway this week. Good to have you here. How are you getting on with your owls, Amar? How's that little project going? Let's do the tooth next. Again, fill bucket tool, standard fill for this one. Make sure I'm on the right level, bucket fill, check all the options. There we go. Okay. And if you're careful, I'm sure you could use the frame range tool for this as well. In fact, for these few frames, because he doesn't move much, let's just do that. So I'll tick frame range. I'll leave it in normal mode so I can just tap. So on the first frame, you tap where you're going to fill the first time and you see a red X. And you move through to the last frame and you tap again, and then OpenToonz will interpolate between those two frames and fill in each one. Let me just undo that because I saw a small gap at the top, and that's because I'm going to increase the fill depth, which means it'll get further into where the anti-aliased lines are. Okay, so I'll tap on the first one, go to the last frame, tap again, and that'll fill in. Then we'll do frame range. And it still missed that top little pixel, so I'm going to change from normal to the freehand option. Okay, at least you found it, Tom. Maybe the notifications are being peculiar for the streams rather than the videos. I can see we've got 11 people now, so a few of you have found me, which is great to have you here. Okay. Yeah, looking forward to seeing them, Amar. Oh, monitor arm, nice. Is that for your tablet? So you can move it around the desk easier? Because I've considered buying one of those. I use the tablet mostly at the desk, but to be able to bring it back toward yourself and lean back in your chair and draw closer to you appeals to me. I've not invested in the arm just yet. Yeah, it will take some getting used to. True, that's true, Tom. No one will see it, but it bugs me. You're right. I'm zoomed to 1,000,000% really to what people will see, and for the pace of him moving. Yeah, it does save space. I do want to invest in a few arms myself for my monitors as well as the tablet at some point. I need to do that. Ajan. So when you say you saved it but it save's not working, save is working. Did you save with the save all option or save scene? So in the file menu, save all is what you want to press to save everything. Do keep saving often. Save regular, save, save. Right, okay, Tom. Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Let's have a look at this. Let's just see what difference this makes. Fine. And it's one of those things that it's going to bother me more than anybody else. Whoop. There we go. So now let's see how that will work on the whole tooth. And you can see it's filling pixels sort of outside the area if I go too wide. So you've got to be a little bit careful. And that's because of the fill depth I've increased it to. That's interesting. Okay. Second jab, excellent. Excellent, Tamar. I need to arrange to get my booster at some point. I think I'll stick with the standard normal fill, to be honest. It's not making much difference and it's more efficient and consistent when I tap it. I can always tap in the extra if I want to. Yeah, I do need to arrange my booster at some point because I think I'm 5 or 6 months from my last jab. I do like that snap that we all did a few weeks ago for the stretch of the monster jumping up. Really do. Every time I see it, I keep thinking how I'm pleased that we got through that that day. Okay. Yes, a 2-in-1 laptop. So would that be so you can draw on the screen, Maria, like a tablet? Right, so only a few weeks ago you was considering leaving and now you're looking at a 30% pay rise. That'll do nicely. Yeah, that'd be really, really good. Yes. Well, good things come to those who wait. Yeah, I bet that's really good. That'd be really helpful drawing on the bus. Yeah, I've considered myself getting a more portable drawing tablet so that I'm not always up here in my office when I'm doing drawing, so I can just take it downstairs with the laptop and pop it on my lap on the sofa while I'm watching TV. No, Ajahn, exactly the same brushes, but again, you won't be using all the brushes. Again, it's one of those questions that people ask so often: how many brushes does it have? Does it have this brush? Does it have that? Most of the time you use the default brush and then 1 or 2 others for the occasional background. But as Maria said earlier, you can always draw the backgrounds in Critter or any other art program and import them into OpenToonz. But for actual animation, you probably don't really need the brushes. But you have got a number of brushes for Vector and Raster to choose from, so yeah. So let's do his main next. Take a look at that, and for that I think I was going to use the Smart Raster Paint tool, which at the minute, oh yeah, of course, this was a change that Manong John put in. Thank you, MJ, thank you very much. So the paint brush tools, it used to be called, I believe, in OpenToonz, only had one size to choose from. So you had a fixed size. Put it another way, you didn't have a minimum and a maximum size, you could only set one size. So you could make it larger or smaller, which was great for when you're painting into a large area, but then going to the corners, you kind of wanted a smaller brush. So I often resorted to using the standard brush for painting, just so I can have the variance of size, a min and a max. But Manang John put in a min and max for the Smart Raster paintbrush as well, which is amazing. It means it ought to be easier to fill in the detail as well as the larger areas. Just use Tahoma, Ajahn. Use Tahoma. That's what I'm using today. So that's what you can see me doing here. If you do look at any of the tutorials on my site, they're for OpenToonz. They'll work for both programs anyway. Yeah, grab Tahoma. So I can press in hard to do a thicker brush up here, but then do a thinner colouring in the corners. So yeah, much better options for the paintbrush there. So for now, let me try the bucket fill, see what that can fill in. It will leave some corners, so let me undo that a second. Increase the fill depth, see how much that helps. Yep, and then we'll do the little bits of corners separately perhaps, or if I use the freehand tool, I can maybe colour in them all. So let me try that, try and get them in one go, because yeah, you will get these external fills as well happening, so you'll have to erase those. So it's kind of an option of, do you want to fill in the externals, erase the externals, or fill the internals. Let me just try doing the fill first on the inside and then do the rest afterwards. Bring this down a bit. Fine, that's good. They're both the same program, there's no need to think about choosing, just pick one and start using it. So yeah, most of this is coloured in for the main, so I need to make a couple of small changes, which I will do afterwards. So as I was thinking, this won't take me too long at all today. As I say, I'm going to work on a quick background afterwards. I'm not going to do too much today with that. So we'll have a shorter stream, I think, than usual. Yep, you can add reference image into Tahoma. This is exactly what I showed you earlier. You can see one at the right hand side here in the flipbook. I've got a reference animation, in fact, not just a reference image. So if I press loop play, that can keep running in the background while I'm drawing separately. So I have a reference animation there. You can put a static image in there, or as I did at the very start, I've dragged a static image onto the screen, and that's where I got the colours from to choose for this monster. So like a lot of things in OpenToonz and Tahoma, there's more than one way to do it. As I say, everything you want to do, you can probably do with both of them. So if I go to frame 1, hit save, you can see here on the left, I've got a reference image. Just let it finish saving. There you go. This one here, that was an image dragged in for me to refer to for the colours that I pulled the colours from for this. Not for this project, Maria. No, not for this one. I'm trying to keep away from the matte effects. As Tom reminded me last week, when I first started this, I was trying to stick to traditional. I may well throw in the odd effect. We'll see for like the background, but not too many, no. So let's see how that looks. See if I've missed anything. So let's press loop play, zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Cheers. So as I thought, that didn't take long at all. I'm really happy with his eyebrows. That's one part of his body I did add texture to last week. We used the charcoal brush, I think it was, to draw the eyebrows. So where Ajahn talking about brushes, there's one brush I used, for instance. So if I zoom in, you can see the eyebrows have kind of got this textured feel to them, which means that as he animates, they kind of do move around a little bit. That's fine, it's what I was after. But because I drew the eyebrows on a separate level, the fill tools still work on the monster exactly how I'd expect them to. Let me hit save on that. Yep, no need to overthink this, just grab Tahoma 2D. There's a link down in the description on the YouTube video and over on the Discord server. Grab it, run it, and you'll see this program exactly like this. Ah, see, Heine shared the latest version of his project. I can see from the thumbnail. Oh, I loved that game when I was younger. I'm trying to think how old I'd be when it first came out. Lemmings game on the Amiga, wasn't it? Or at least that's where I played Lemmings. Yeah, I'd maybe be late teens, would I be? 15, 16 maybe? Or a bit older? I can't remember now. A long time ago. Great game. Love it. Yes, Animal. Animal. Yeah, no, if you're great drawer, Ajahn. Great. I'd look forward to seeing what you can accomplish and come up with. Please do share it with us. Again, on the Discord server is ideal. I'm happy with how he looks right now. So I'm going to move on, I think. But before I do, I'll take a short break, leave you in peace for 5 minutes, let you grab a drink yourself. I'll stretch my legs and I'll be back here in 5 minutes to carry on with the background. So I'll see you then. And welcome back. Hope you had a nice break. So I've just taken a look at Heine's animation here, which is shared on the Discord server. I won't play it all while we're here live. I think it'd be good if you go and take a look at it all on the actual link in YouTube, just to play the first part of it. I love this little fella. So yes, one or two little Mr. Nobbles coming in, and I'll let you take a look at it to see how this ends. So you'll find that on the Discord server. Thanks for sharing that, Heine. Love to see it. Great. We'll check that out properly later, and I'm sure plenty of others would as well. And as you noticed in the kitchen, I shared a couple of images from Raster and from AL1V. I don't know how you pronounce that, but thanks for sharing that over on the Discord server. And if you want your art featured in the kitchen next week, then pop it into the Discord, and you never know, next week it might be you. So back to this little animation of the little monster there. Adjan, yes, is almost identical to OpenToonz. So grab a hold of Tahoma. That's what I'm using today. I'm about to show you a new feature in a second that's in Tahoma, but not in OpenToonz. So if you do grab Tahoma 2D, you will have this feature as well. So do grab Tahoma and give it a go. I just want to run through the corners. I didn't look at this before to make sure I've got all of the small corners of the main here. And again, it's something I don't necessarily need to be too picky with, but I'm going to be a bit picky because I just am. Just to try and erase areas only, to get rid of any overlapping bits of ink that I don't like, to try and make the fur look a little bit neater. So I'll just take a little run through these frames to tidy them up. It won't take long to do. And that one went outside because I got the range fill, the fill depth set too high. Yeah, if you do get a chance, Maria, do take a look at it. And for those of us of a certain age that used to play games, it'll bring back one or two memories, I think. It was one of my favourite games for so long. So again, this kind of thing, it depends how picky you want to be for doing this. And it's detail that isn't necessarily going to be seen, but something that I want to just make neater for myself, my own peace of mind. Yeah, so it's going well so far. I'm really happy with this. As I said previously, I've been working on this for a few weeks, but it's only a few weeks for two reasons. One, I'm only working on it during the streams, so it's only a few hours at a time, and that's only once a week, of course. And the second one is, with all the chatting and blah blah blahing that I'm doing on the stream, those few hours actually only turn into 2 or 3 hours, not necessarily a full set of 3-4 hours each time. So I could have done this quite easily in a day or two, I think, if I'd not done it during a stream. But it's been quite interesting doing it on the stream, and I hope you've all gained a little bit of inspiration to do your own animations at the same time as I'm doing this. Okay. It's also good just to have your company here while I'm working on it. As I say, it does slow me down, but that's fine. And the question for me, coming up very soon, is, so, what next? So I'm going to have this finished, I believe, next week. So today I wanted to have the get that out. Have the colouring of the monster done. Preferably the background completed as well, because it is a really simple background. Let me hit save. That's it. So right click and choose fit to window to see everything. And again, that's all coloured in. So I'm going to go to the backup tool and give this copy a name, make a copy, and delete all non-named backups. So I've only got named backups saved there. So the question is, what next for me? Well, if I can finish the background today, next week I'll work on what I'll call effects. So that'll be the water splash, hand-drawn effect if you like. The effect from when he jumps off the floor, the little, I don't know what you call that, the power effect. Maybe adding an actual node effect or two to add a glow, blur, something maybe to it. I might do maybe blur the shadow the minute you've got the texture of the pencil, or I might leave it. I'm not too sure about that yet. So I'll have a general effects session next week, and then the following week I've got to decide what I want to work on. However, I am considering having a Christmas break or winter break for a few weeks. So I'm still thinking about quite what I want to do there. So I've got a few things I want to work on, and if I don't run the stream, it gives me a bit more flexibility to work on those. So I need to have a think on that. So next week I'll give you more details for that. So I hope you can join me for that. Let me create a new level for this background then. I'm going to delete the reference column because I'm not using it anymore. So I'll just tap delete and that'll go. The old monster, which is the ink sketch, I can unlock that column and then tap delete to remove that. I don't need that. And the background I'll place in front of the sketch background. So let me tap to create a vector level first, because I really do enjoy using the gradients that you get for vector levels. So let me zoom out, and I'm going to click on the cell. You get this handle, and I can drag that handle to the right so that this single drawing will last for the full range of the animation. Then back to frame 1, I can actually start drawing on the background. So let's just rename the column. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I'll leave it using the colour 1, the black, standard black background colour. Move the timeline out of the way a bit so I can see the whole page. And I'm going to click and drag outside of the drawing area to roughly where the horizon line was. And I'll fill this in with the colour. So I'll tap to add a new colour. I'll choose the vector tab at the top here to choose the vector colour options. We'll choose this option here, which is the linear gradient. And the easiest way to edit it is to see it on screen. So I'll fill that rectangle with the gradient colour first. Really bright, but it's easier to edit the colours and see them in this larger area up here rather than seeing them in this small box on the left hand side in the palette list. So I'll go to settings first and I'll change the angle. It doesn't matter if I go to dark to light or light to dark. And the angle is roughly 90 degrees, so I can actually type in the box 90 and press enter, which sets it to 90 degrees. Let's choose the colours we want next. So because we've now got the colour on screen, we can see that the dark black colour is at the top and the lighter green is at the bottom. So the black at the top, what colour do we want? Well, let's make it sort of a blue, light blue colour first. The green, we'll do the same, just pick another colour. And now I can adjust them, try and get the right range of colours. And I often get this wrong, whether it goes light to dark or dark to light. I think it's darker on the horizon and lighter at the top. could be the other way around. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to try and pick two appropriate colours. Let's make it lighter at the top there, just so I see some gradient between the two. And I don't actually want the black outline, that's just the default. So if you use the selection tool, click the rectangle so it's selected and choose colour 0, that sets the outside rectangle line to colour 0, which is not visible, so you get just the gradient in there. So then let's add the ground. So again, using colour 1, I'll select the rectangle. The gradients are so easy to use to get a range of colours to add a bit of texture to the backgrounds in particular. I really like them. I'm going to drag this across the whole of the ground here. And again, it's outside of the camera area, just so that when I choose to show the camera only, you'll see only what's within that area. And again, we'll add another colour. I'll choose linear gradient, settings 90 degrees. And if you prefer to have the two colours in the opposite direction, just put minus 90 degrees. And then when I fill, you'll see the first colour at the top instead of at the bottom. So you can change which way around it is, and you can see that by clicking the angle slider as it rotates around between the top and the bottom. So again, minus 90 is easier to type in the box. So then let's pick two colours. So I'm going to use the grass colour, I think, for this. Yes, I know what you mean, Maria. Sometimes it's nicer just to put some paint on and spread it over to get the colours that you want, rather than this mechanical vector gradient. It's snappy to do it this way, but sometimes it's better to actually paint it on, depending what you're after. But I want to kind of do this reasonably quickly today. So let's choose some colours then. So we've got the really light green. It must be sort of dark green. Go into a darker green. So let's again go to the light and make it lighter. And now if you go to the settings, you can also change the X and Y position, so you can move the gradients up and down. So at the point where they touch each other, those two colours, you can move where they are. Easiest way to see that, if you drop down the smoothness to 1, you can see just the two colours. And then when I move the Y option, you can see it going up and down. And then adjust the smoothness, and you can see what it does. It kind of makes it blurred between the two colours. And again, you can move it up and down to change where that ratio of colours is. So you can choose to make it larger or darker that way. I don't want it too bright, but I want to see some sharing of colours, some changing of colours. So let's go to the dark colour and make that slightly darker. That's fine. We hit save, so don't lose anything. As I said again earlier, save often, save as often as you can, just in case. And now I need to add the pool in place. Oh, first I need to take away the outline for the ground. So again, selection tool, select that rectangle, hit colour 0, and now that's gone. There is some overlap between these two colours, you can see there. So I'm going to tap on the rectangle and using the cursor keys, adjust it slightly. But if I choose to render, hopefully you won't see much difference in the overlap. But as I say, I might use a blur on that to change the blur between the blue and the green. So I'm going to, again, hit save so I don't forget. That background, I'm going to lock that and leave that in the background. In fact, let's unlock it because I need to change something soon. Let's add another level, which I'll use vector level again, I think, for the pool. So again, let's select the first frame, drag that handle out to the end. And I'm going to call this pool, so I know which column is which. But to be able to see the sketch behind it, I'm going to drag the background column behind the background sketch. So I can now see the sketch of the pool, which gives me the rough location of where I want to draw it. So then I'm going to use some of these geometry tools again to add in the side of that pool. So I'm going to start off with the rectangle. Let's make this slightly larger, and I'll quickly draw one on the screen to see how that looks. Yeah, that's chunky enough. So I'm going to start at the top left corner and make sure the bottom line covers roughly where I had the pool before. Then using the control point editor, I'm going to click on the line, and then I'll adjust the bottom left corner to bring that in, making sure that the bottom line stays horizontal like that. And by using a rectangle from the geometry options, it means filling that with a colour should work a lot better. We can save. And then I'm going to choose the line option to give myself a horizontal line. Now click and drag, and I think if you hold shift it will snap horizontally. Let me just put it to the side here. Overlap there. Yep, that snapped horizontally there. And then again I'm going to put some vertical lines for the kind of the bricks at the side. Let me change the background sketch. So I'll unlock the column, hit the drop down, bring down the opacity so it's not as dark, and change the colour to a different colour just so it's less in your face. Good. And then add some lines at the side of here. So again I'm going to have to hold the shift key, which is over there, as I drag some lines down here. By holding the shift key they'll be exactly vertical. And we can adjust the location of them in a second. But I just want to have them, on the screen first. And then again, using this select tool, I can click on them and move them as I need to. So I'll tap on that line and move it to the left. The same for that one. Let's try and get the spacing a bit more consistent. Okay, that's all right. So again, we'll add a new colour. Let's choose kind of a blue colour. We're going to adjust this afterwards for the water. Fill bucket tool with a normal mode, filling in areas, and just tap in the rectangle. The bricks themselves want to be a different colour, so let's see if these will fill. Let's choose like an orangey colour. The last one won't fill, so let's try grouping it, which always helps. So using the selection tool, I'll draw around all the shapes. I'll right click and choose group. And now if I try and fill with orange, see if that'll help. So I might need to adjust the line a little bit. So the control point editor, let's zoom in and adjust this line to make sure it passes past halfway past that line there. You see it immediately fill in with the orange colour. So let's see if we can fill in the other two sections. That one there, or the water. Now it won't. So let me select just the rectangle. See if I can do the grouping a bit differently. So this is one of the issues I always find with colouring in vectors. So let me try grouping those now, and now. Oops. Let's deselect, go to the bucket fill and choose orange. So to save messing about, I'm going to add a smart raster level in front of the pool, just to add some extra colours. So the first thing I'll choose is I need it in front of that. I'll lose the lines. Let me get this right. Group that, and now try and fill it. It's Mike. Hello Mike, good to have you here. Let me undo that and add a vector level behind it. This is why I don't use vector levels for more than basic shapes. So let's use the selection tool and put in, in fact, let me use the polyline. I'll try the polyline, remind myself which one that is. I'm going to add in kind of a blue colour for now. Yeah. If I draw inside of here, and I can fill in there, and that goes behind the lines. Good. And the second one, this kind of orangey colour I want. So again, for a polyline, going to go from that corner to there. Behind each of these tiles, like that. Then I'll fill those, then control point editor, I'll just adjust the edges of this line. I need to hold the Alt key and I can drag that back up here. Okay. And for the pool extras, I want to kind of do some bit of depth at the front if I can possibly, or add a bit of texture to the bricks that look a bit rough there. Let's see how we can do. Let's stick with the pool level first, where the lines are. Yep, just the line. So let me change the size for a standard line down to 1. I'm just going to add a few extra lines in here. Put it in black. I'm going to hold shift to make sure they stay vertical. So I'm going to add a bit of light to the top left and dark to the bottom right. So let me just do it as white first. Let me change the edges, make sure they're rounded. Right, so using the select tool, now I'll draw them all in neat. I'll draw them all separate, okay. It won't take long to add them in, will it? Make sure I hit save. So let's add a bit of highlight onto these bricks so they're not so plain, is all I want to do. I'm holding shift to make sure the lines stay vertical, horizontal. And I've changed the colour in a second to be not as bright. We'll do the same for the opposite corner. So I'll add that. I'll leave it at black again for now. Jan, you're asking the same questions. We've already said they're both basically the same program, so they're both as good. I don't mind these being not super neat. Because this is supposed to be just the background. Okay, hit the control point editor. Let me just adjust that line to be out there. Good, and then let's change these colours so it's not quite as dark. And Yo-san, good to have you here, buddy. Yeah, going really well. Going really well today. Yeah, people say things like that. Ajahn, don't worry about it. They're both good for longer or shorter animations, but in general, you'd still want to make your scenes as short as possible for the programs to work as efficiently as they can. So don't put all of your cartoon into the one scene. Break it down into smaller shots and it'll be more efficient because there's less in memory at once. So keep your shots small, but you can use them to create as long of animation as you want to. You really can. I'm just going to make a few small adjustments here. Bum, 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 bum. As I said, I don't spend too long on this background. And I realised during the break that I actually didn't complete the inking last week, because I didn't do the reflection, didn't ink the reflection. So I might quickly do that today as well. We'll see how we get on with this in a second, that's fine. So now there, I've got the highlights on, I'm going to adjust them so the black isn't quite as black. Make it a little bit lighter and move the colour more towards that orange side. Same for the white, move it more towards the orange, but keeping it light. So again, it's background, we don't need this to stand out too much. Fine, okay. Oh yeah, you're right, Tom. Snap would have helped with that. I didn't see the text there. Well done, Ajahn. Yeah, you download it. Have a go. See how it goes for you. Okay, the pool is also right next to the edge here, so I wanted to add another edging line. Let's try and make it show that the pool has got a bit of an edge. Only a small one though. So let me just see how this goes. Actually, a rectangle would be better. Oh, nice, nice, Maria. Okay, then do another one. You have to do a little thing here. Then use the control point editor to place the corners in the right places. And hopefully these will fill a bit better than they tried to earlier. Okay, so let me add a colour for filling here. Let's make it a deeper brown, I think, possibly, if it will. Should be auto grouped anyway, so fill should just work. Ah, there we go. Yeah, try not to be too, I'd say try not to be too ambitious as well, Ajahn, for your first animation. Just in case it doesn't quite work as you think it ought to work. Start to learn what the benefits are with the program, as well as the things to be wary of, things to be careful of. Don't think you just jump in and animate and it'll work immediately without any sort of side effects or things to consider. You've really got to understand the software. Okay, I just wanted that in as a bit of an edging. Fine. Yeah, cats do that. The orange of the tiles actually back there is quite bright. Let me bring that down a little bit. Okay, there we go, that's fine. Okay, so again, that's saved, so let me name this with basic background, just so I know what that is. Now delete all non-names, that's fine there. That's what we see within the camera. Let me hide now the sketch for the background. Don't need that. If I can push that to the bottom, if I look at the colours here, just check if I've not changed the alpha on any of those, because we've got this line showing of where they overlap for some reason. Yes, happy for you to do that, Maria. Please do. Please do, yes. Just checking for this Make sure there's no gap there. Fine. So that's just a drawing issue. It appears as a gap, but there isn't really. Good. Let me look at that in a preview setting. So again, I'll change the shrink down, shrink it to half, and preview, and see how that looks. Let me reset the view, so that's 100% at this stage, and hit loop play. There's a small flick. I think I've missed a frame at the end for one of these columns. There we go. So there should be one more frame there. So 149. Might come back to that pool extras, but for now, let's delete it. I'm not using it. So I wanted to look at the ink for the reflection down here. I want to add that in as a definite column of its own. So let me add another Toonz raster or smart raster level. And let's look at what drawings we've got here. I want to kind of flatten out that reflection. Let me try with the scale, the vertical would it be? I made that taller. Because it's locked. Unlock it. Let's have another look at that. Where's the center? Put it there where the shadow is. That's roughly where the center should be. So I go to the scale again, and now adjust the vertical scale. We'll see, but those few drawings there at the beginning are okay, so I'll add that in now, I think. The shadow isn't quite in the right place, I want to adjust that. Or I need to adjust the pool, might be the better thing to do. So let's put a mark where the edge of the pool should be. If I go back to frame 1, with the selection tool, make sure that stays in there. Try again. Frame 1, select the pool. We'll need to move the fill. I use the cursor keys to move it. Let's place that across there. Try to do the same for the fill areas. Hopefully they won't fall apart. A little bit more to the right. Yeah, literally one little tap there. Look at where that shadow is. Yeah, so the shadow falls down into the pool then. That looks better, that's fine. Hit save. Okay, so let's look at this reflection then. So I grab the standard brush using a normal fill colour, the standard colour 1. You look at the size, yep, that's the right size. So let's just do a little bit of temporary inking for this. I'm just inking up to the water's edge. I'll add colour into that, which will make a big difference later. It shouldn't take long to do this, and we'll add a bit of a fill colour afterwards, and we'll see how it looks as it moves. It's quite nice to have used the Animate tool and duplicating the drawing level to get this. It doesn't need to be really accurate. It's just a bit of the monster that flashes by as it moves. You don't necessarily notice a lot of what is here, but hopefully as it moves with the timing of the monster, it'll be sort of out of the corner of your eye, quite clear that it's the reflection. And let's go to need the spots as well, so let me get the colours from the monster ink level. And I can do that by clicking on the first, scrolling down, holding shift and clicking on the last, then pressing Control C to copy them. Then if I go to my new level, click in the palette area and press Control V, and you get a copy of all of the colours. So I can use the spot outline here to draw around the spots. I'll do that separately though once I finish this final line, because the size of the line does change. So it's about to go into the water there. I don't like the way that's a long way off, so I'm going to use the Animate tool here to add a key, and in the final frame I'm going to move this down. Yeah. So now I can ink over all of this. Oops, let's choose the right colour. I've got some smoothing on, that's fine. It's a very long line, so smoothing would really help get this right. I need smoothing off for the fur. Just check on that. Yeah. Nice and simple. And let's just finish off the rest of his body. Again, trying to mirror what I can see up there. Fine. So spots outline, it's a little bit smaller, and let's add those in. Now we can fill all of the colour in for this. And again, next week when we come back to do the effects, we might, in fact we're almost definitely going to add an effect onto the reflection. just need to have a think about which one it'll be. Again, I don't want to go too mad. I think an effect would be useful for that. Fill those in, then using the eraser, hopefully I can take this back to the edge line there. Again, it's flying by quite quickly. Badger Shame, good morning. Good to have you with us. How are you doing today? Thank you. I think I'll make sure the pool lines are in front of this reflection. Let's put it another way, bring my reflection down behind the pool lines. So monster reflection. It'll make it easier to hide the edges of my fills then behind the pool lines. So we want to fill the body, so let's look at the main fur colour. Choosing the brush, we can draw around the edges. If I bring down the opacity of the pool lines, hopefully I can see where I need to go to. Let's get rid of the fill for now and the backgrounds, so I can see only what I need to see. Okay, so doing the fur with a brush. Excellent. Good to see, good to hear. Yep, I'm certainly very well today. I'm having a great day here on the stream. Things are going really well so far. He says, hoping things don't crash. So far, so good. I'm through most of the work today, so you might want to nip back to the start of the stream to catch how I got to where I am today. I've been adding colour to the monster and the background. Just doing the reflection now. I need to do the ink line that's behind the pool lines here, so I can fill in the body. So I need to draw this line behind the edge of the pool. You can't see where the edge will be here. And then I'll fill it in a second, and hopefully it'll fill without too much trouble, but we'll soon find out. It's okay to go over the edge, that's not a problem. As long as I don't leave a gap between the monster and the pool, you won't notice that. So let's see how this works. Hit save. Choose the bucket fill tool, start at the beginning, and let's just start filling and see if they all do fill. Nope, so I've missed a gap somewhere there, number 5. Same for 6. Okay, that's not too bad. So 5 and 6, there's a gap somewhere. So if I hide the pool lines entirely, hopefully we'll see where it is. Let me turn the pencil on. There could be lines in the actual line because of anti-aliasing. So 5 and 6. Let's make sure we go over those lines. There's no obvious gaps. That's fine for 6 and fine for 5. So bring the lines back on. I can turn up their opacity, bring back the fill colour and the background colour, and now if need be I can add on more lines to be a little bit neater. Badge of shame, great question. Patience for in-betweening. I think the clue is in the question. I think it is just a case of trying to have patience, to understand it's a slow process. So if you've not got to think too much about what you're working on. Perfect, Maria, exactly what I was about to say. Pop on some music or podcast, something in the background to half take your mind away, to concentrate on while you're drawing. It's the same for me for inking. I really enjoy the inking phase, but you're drawing over what's already there. So you're repeating what you've got. So that is kind of also a slightly boring role during the animation. But the main point is to concentrate on the end game, where it's going to get to, why you're doing it, what you're producing. So I think it's just a case of taking it one step at a time, perhaps breaking it down in mentally between different parts of the in-betweening. So don't think I've got 1,000 frames with 20 keys in, I need to in between all of this. It's 20 keys, take it one at a time. So the first 2 keys, you've got 6 in-betweens to do. Think about just those 6. Don't think about what's coming later. Just take it one small piece at a time and slowly just work through it. And at the end of each session, look back on what you've done, accept your own appreciation of what you've been working on, that you've done a good job today, and we'll come back to the next stage tomorrow or whenever the time is. It is just a slow job, animation, and for me doing this, it's a slow job doing it piece by piece over Sundays, just for an hour or 2 at a time. It takes a while to get through, and it's just something to sort of accept, I think, really, that it will take a while to get through. So does that help? And I would say anybody else in the chat, if you've got some advice for Badge of Shame to suggest how to make in-betweening go quicker or feel like less of a drag, then please do drop your notes in there. Right, so I've got the third to paint on the back of him here for these last 2 drawings. So let's get his main colour. I use the paintbrush. In fact, can I just use the bucket tool? Because I may have already filled that in. I chose the wrong colour, so I just need to edge that off. So let's have black there for the edge. That's fine. The previous one, I could see some of this grey. So using the brush tool, let's choose the main colour. Can we? It's an ink line. There we are. Make sure we're drawing lines in areas. So again, using the paintbrush to fill in the last ones in. Using the pencil, this should work, but again, it's one of those issues with anti-aliasing. And then overall, let's choose the right option for start, and then try using the main colour. There we are. Food is good, you're right, but it's easy to get suckered into just munching all the way through, but it does help. Yes, great idea, Enyo-san. So flipping tasks so that you haven't just got a week ahead of in-betweening. So do a day of in-betweening, then a day of background, or planning the next scene, or working on the script, and then come back to in-betweening. That's a great tip. I like that. Oh, I saw a gap there I need to fill in, so that's with his fur. Just finish off this. We're almost there now, I think. Number 8, we've got the tooth. So let's paint that. We've got his nose. Drop that in there. Hit save. Yeah, you're right. If the perfect tip existed, it would certainly be a game changer for all of us. And then we'll need to change how that looks. So I'm using currently the same colours. So I could change the alpha of these colours perhaps. We'll look at the effects next week, but potentially I wonder if that'll help. Let me change down the fur. Now I think we need to adjust that separately. We're using an effect overall of the reflection to make it a little bit blurred, a little bit more opaque. Okay, let me preview that. Preview settings. I'm going to change the shrink back to 1 to make sure I really get the full preview. Okay, that fits in the window. Let's rewind and let's see how that looks. I'm happy with that. I'm getting a bit wet. Yeah, film soundtracks are great background music to listen to. Great, so we've got the monster fully painted. We've got a rough background put in place, and again I'm going to throw in a sort of a blur effect for the background. Might pop in a couple of clouds. Let's pop a couple of clouds in now, see how that goes. But basically I'm happy with that for today. I'm going to call it a day in a second. Me either, Badge. I can't wait to see it. I'm slightly nervous on trying to draw that neatly. The water there, but we'll see how it goes next week. Let me go to the fill here. I'm going to choose a standard raster level, I think, for this, and we'll call it clouds. Well, I'll try that to see and to actually call it clouds. Yeah, this short animation has certainly got a bit out of hand where I started from, because I wanted to practice more of the sketching, the in-betweening and animating parts rather than the colour, but I couldn't not add colour to it, so I've kind of gone a bit further than I was originally intending to, but I'm happy with where it is. Okay, so let's choose a brush, go to a new palette entry. Yulichek, hello there, welcome. Good to have you here today. How are you doing? And I'm using Tahoma, not OpenToonz, because the new OpenToonz has got some extra brushes, including a cloud brush. Yeah, the water's going to be next week, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm very much crossing my fingers to how that'll go. It may well be the hardest part and might take a few attempts to get it right. So hopefully during this week I'm going to have time to take a look at it, look at some reference material, see if that helps. What I've got I think is okay, but it's kind of rough and ready, so we'll see how that goes. So we want to do clouds. There's a cloud brush at the bottom, and there's also the airbrush works really well for clouds. Let me try and find that. There we go, the FX clouds. From the colour, start off with white and see what we end up with. Let's just see how this looks. So start colouring in. So you can see it's kind of painting some little circles there. So just wiggle the brush around, doing a bit of a Bob Ross almost. Using plain white. I won't bother. Let's have a little one in the middle here. That's fine. And then we'll change it to sort of a grey colour. Arcane. No, I haven't. No. Paint a bit of this. Undo that. If you press it quite lightly, you don't get so much detail, so that's nice. Just add a bit of grey in there, just so there's something in the clouds. And then go in between, and then go over the joining to add a kind of mid colour, sort of almost blend it a little bit. And then I'm going to come back to the sky colour. I want to adjust that slightly because that's really bright at the top. And to make this a little bit deeper, because you'll see the clouds a bit better. Then the lower part of the sky, again, I'm going to make a little bit darker there. And for the green, I'm going to again make the green, light green, a little bit darker. That's really bright. And the dark green again, darker still, so you can see the difference in colour there. And the clouds, I'm going to move them upwards. Because they're really low. That's fine. Just to get them up there. Yeah, good question, Maria. Where can you see Arcane? Is it Netflix, Disney Plus, or just the internet? Just name these brushes so I don't lose track of which one's which. I'm going to bring this back to near white again. Use the brush, bring it smaller. I'm going to try and just add a little bit more. White detail onto this. I can sit here and adjust it all day. I don't want to do that. Netflix, okay. So Arcane. So based off the word arcade, I guess, if it's for the video game fans. I'm going to write that down. Let me pop that down here. Good. Superb, sorted. Well, I'll take a look at that. Yeah, so here we are. I'm going to render this out then. So that's saved. We go to the output settings, 1 to 148, as we know. Take a look at the scaling. I'm going to scale it down. Let's put it down by 3, so it's a third of the size. Monster jump. I'll send it out as a GIF, so it could be played on loop in the Discord server, and I'll share this on the Discord server in a second. Let's hit save and render, and we go to the folder here. The outputs. And we'll see this come out. I'm good. Welcome. Not seen you for a long time. How you doing? We're just about winding up now, though, unfortunately. But good to have you here. I'm just rendering off the animation as it is so far. Yeah, I've not seen you for a very long time. Okay, so let me open that and see how that looks on Windows first before we put it into the Discord. Something I forget to do at the end of each stream is to actually render it out while on stream. So that's a third of the size, so it's quite small. Let's again play a couple of times, see how that plays. I can see it's a block towards the end. Is it like his eyebrows or something? There. It's like his eyebrows fall off. Ah, I've extended the last drawing of his eyebrow. There you go. His eyebrow falls off. Okay, let's take that out by highlighting those and tapping delete. Good, that's fine. Again, I'll render this out. Let's just hit render this time. Yeah, it's usually the middle of the night. I know the timing isn't perfect for everybody. It's really kind of tricky to get the right time for everybody. Glad you've made it live though, to join us. But as I say, you might want to go back and watch this from the beginning to see some of the different painting techniques that I've used to get the colouring in here. Yeah, I don't know how, is the music too quiet? I put it on at the beginning, the music actually, at the very beginning. But I've turned the volume down because I don't want it overpowering anything. Thanks, Heiner. Let's just run that without the eyebrows falling off. So yes, his reflection obviously is far too bright. We'll come back to that next week. Because next week I want to be effects week. So I'll work on the splash to see how I can get that coming out looking neat. Be interesting to see how that goes. How I'll look at the reflection in the water to change the colours of the reflection monster. Maybe look at the shadow, but I quite like that rough look. So we'll have an experiment to see how it looks, if it's worth doing or not. See if we want to add any other kind of blurs to the clouds. Maybe could be quite useful. I might change them a little bit. So the whole thing will be effects week. No problem. This is why I like to keep the recording on there for people to go back and re-watch. So maybe people may see the final output on Discord and think, how did you do the clouds or the reflection, or what kind of colouring techniques did you use? That's why the stream's always going to be available to take a look at. So I'm going to call it quits there today. We're going to have an early one today. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed the stream. That went really smoothly for me to get the colouring done. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to drop this in the Discord server now and tweet it out and the usual kind of thing. I'll be around on Discord if you want to chat later on, or if you've got any questions. And if you want to share what you've been working on, please pop them in the Discord, and maybe next week it'll be featured in the break in the kitchen. And if you found this video useful, then please do hit the like button, give it a thumbs up, and that'll let the video spread to other users, and they may well come back and see the stream because of that. So I'll see you on the next stream. As I say, I'll post a link in advance so you know when I'm about to stream, but 3 PM on Sunday is where I'll try to aim for. So have a great rest of the day and a great rest of your week. Keep animating, and I'll see you next Sunday if you can join me. And that's a Darren Tea. Have you always wanted to animate but didn't know how to start, and software seemed expensive and difficult to use? Well, with OpenToonz, it's free, powerful, and once you know how, it's easy to use. And it's my mission to get you animating with it today. Hi, my name's Darren, and I've been teaching OpenToonz for the past 3 years, showing thousands of students just like you how easy it is to animate with. I'm cutting through the jargon to show that anyone can animate with it. And by the end of the course, you'll be able to animate traditionally using OpenToonz. And the course is designed for students brand new to OpenToonz, as well as those new to animation. So take a look at the free lessons I've offered below, and then why not sign up and join me animating traditionally with OpenToonz.